What's going on, Shane?
Oh, there we go. My mic was muted. I'm sorry about that.
All right. I was gonna say,
Um,
what the fuck? We're off to a hot start right now.
my mic was muted. Um, no, we're back after 2 weeks off. We both had some personal shit going on, and finally back, and it feels good to be back to talk about hockey.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Mhm.
what do you think it's fair to say we're halfway through the season right now?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I think most teams are on that 28 game mark, which is about halfway. And I mean, uh, teams are looking like there's starting to be some separation in the standings
Yeah,
right now.
absolutely.
Especially in the North Division too. There's a teams in the top four teams in the North Division are really starting to run away with it.
The North and the Central Division are pretty. After the top four, there's a big gap. I feel like.
Yeah, um, and there's also a lot of news in the NHL that happened over the past 2 weeks that we
Yeah,
haven't been able to cover that we do have to talk about. Um, First thing that I do want to bring up before we get into our North Division highlights and standings is the absolute blockbuster trade that happened today between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Did you hear about this one, Tim?
no, I did not. You're throwing a curveball on me right
It's
now.
a blockbuster trade. It is the Leafs acquired goalie. Um, Hold on, just 1 second here. Sorry, the Blue Jackets acquired defenseman Mikko Lehtinen
Yeah,
for goaltender Vini Vehviläinen.
that's it.
Blockbuster trade.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. um, Toronto Maple Leafs got a goaltender that I can't even pronounce the name, uh, presumably from Finland, and Columbus Blue Jackets got defenseman Mikko Lehtinen.
What the
I
fuck?
feel like if you're gonna make a trade, like if you're Toronto, giving up like Mikko Lehtinen is not a huge name. He did have potential. He was like one of the top scoring defensemen in the KHL. And I feel like if you give him up, you have to get something other than a goaltender no one's heard of.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
mean, they already have like who they already have. They have Michael Hutchinson, they have Jack Campbell, and they have Frederick Anderson. Do you really need another goalie? Like, is this more of an AHL move?
No. And the Leafs have proven that they can win this season without Anderson in net.
Yeah. And I mean, the goaltender that the Leafs got, Vaini Vehviläinen. I'm probably completely butchering that name. He's 24 years old. He's only played in one career NHL game. That was with the Blue Jackets on March 6th, so 6 days ago. And he played one game with the AHL's Cleveland Monsters, and then he played 13 games in the Finnish Elite League. And in the Finnish Elite League, in those 13 games, he went 3-7-3 with a 3.28 goals against average and a .890 save percentage.
That's
In
those are
the
not
Finnish
good.
Elite League.
Those are not good numbers at all.
He was picked sixth or in the sixth round, 173rd overall by the Blue Jackets in 2018. So I don't know really. Like this has to be an AHL deal. It has to be because
Yeah.
like I mean this guy did play. He played one NHL game with the Blue Jackets 6 days ago, but I mean you do have Korpisalo and Elvis Merzlikins for the Blue Jackets. So I mean I don't even know how the Blue Jackets did in that game that he started actually. But yeah, that was the move.
That was the one that happened today.
The one trade that happened today, the blockbuster, and of course TSN and Sportsnet up here in Canada are just blowing it up like it's this huge trade, and it's like no, like really. um, Another thing that I want to talk about too is Jordan Binnington getting a 6-year extension,
Yeah.
$36 million. So that's a 6 years, 6 years per year. Sorry, $6 million per year. What am I talking about? I can't even talk today. What do you think on that signing? I know you're not the biggest Jordan Binnington fan.
I mean, it's pretty ironic that he gets that deal, like a week after he throws like a hissy fit and tossed out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that? against San Jose.
Yeah, I did see that for sure.
He goes in and, I mean, he was a key role in the Blues winning the Stanley Cup, so he always has that in his back pocket. So, of course, the Blues owe it to him somewhat, but I was kind of surprised to see him be like, yeah, we'll give you a 6-year, $6 million per year deal. Like, that's a big commitment for a goalie that, after winning the Stanley Cup, hasn't really played that good.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I just want to go back to that goaltender that the Toronto Maple Leafs got today. Jonas Korpisalo started the game, let in 4 goals on 16 shots, 4 goals on 20 shots. Was pulled in relief of this goaltender, Vehviläinen, and he let in 2 goals on 4 shots.
Jesus Christ.
And the Columbus Blue Jackets lost 6-0 to the Dallas Stars.
Holy shit.
So that is the goaltender that they got.
What the fuck? That sounds terrible.
Yeah, so that's an interesting deal for sure. But yeah, going back to Jordan Binnington, I mean, the Blues don't have any other goaltender right now.
No, absolutely.
He is a team starting goaltender. He is a Stanley Cup champion too, and I think it's a good deal. I mean, $6 million per isn't too bad. I mean, Binnington's not an awful goaltender in the league.
No, it's pretty reasonable. It's just like, I don't know. He kind of reminds me of a Matt Murray, and for the next couple of years, it'll like show if he's going to
slowly decline.
Because he had a great playoff run in 2019. I'm not denying him that, but like after that, what has he done? You know?
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Matt Murray, actually, bring us onto that topic. We're going to get to the North Division. I do want to talk about the Ottawa Senators and Matt Murray first. Ottawa Senators lost their last game 7-1 to the almighty Edmonton Oilers.
The almighty. All right. You're third in your division. The almighty Edmonton Oilers.
A big part of the Senators, who are 9-19-1 with 19 points. They sit dead last in the Scotia North Division.
Yeah.
Matt Murray has played in 22 games. He has a record of 7 wins, 12 losses, 1 OTL, 73 goals against, a 3.84 goals against average, and a .880 save percentage. This is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Matt Murray.
2-time Stanley Cup champion, but look at the roster in front of him.
Come on. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you look at the defensemen, like, who do they have for defensemen? They have Thomas Chabot, who is probably the only reasonable defenseman. Other than that, Eric Branson they have. But then they have guys like Braden Coburn. They have guys like Eric Brandstrom, who's a rookie. Artem Zub, who is a rookie, I think. I've never heard of him. And Nikita Zaitsev and Mike Riley. So you look at the defensemen the Ottawa Senators have, like, they don't have a whole lot of talent. Matt Murray doesn't have a whole lot of talent in front of him.
No, the Senators absolutely suck. It's just, I feel like Murray's actually getting exposed right now, being not on a team where Sidney Crosby and Malkin are the top 2 centers on the roster.
Right, and there is, believe it or not, Tim, there is one player on the Ottawa Senators who has a plus-minus in the positives.
That's it? One
player, and that is Nick Paul, left winger. 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points in 29 games. He's a +4. Everyone else is in the minus. Thomas Chabot, defenseman, leads the team in points.
A defenseman, right?
Defenseman. Thomas Chabot's a defenseman. He's averaging about 26 minutes of ice time per game. He has 3 goals and 16 assists for 19 points. He leads the team. Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson are second with 18 points.
Oh, my God.
So that is the Ottawa Senators team that is dead last. Martin says, what do you guys think about NHL signing a deal with ESPN? To me, I think it's a good deal. The NHL is the least popular league in the U.S., and going on ESPN is really going to help them as long as ESPN hire people that know hockey. To be honest, I can't really speak on that. I always thought ESPN did play hockey. I'm not from the States.
No.
I know ESPN's more of a football network, I think.
They did. ESPN is more of like a baseball, basketball, football network. They did have hockey at one time, but then the contract like expired, and then NBC SN like took it over for the last 10 years.
So do you think or the NHL signing a deal with ESPN, like that's going to give them a ton more exposure?
I mean, it's probably the biggest like sports contract for like television that the NHL has had ever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
most people tune into ESPN. Like a lot more people tune into ESPN like for watching basketball, baseball, football,
Right.
whatever. So I feel like it's just going to get more exposure. It's just that ESPN kind of has fucking terrible commentators and analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I hope they hire people that know what they're talking about and they don't completely butcher it.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I can't really speak on that because like I'm from Canada and like everywhere up here covers hockey, so I always just thought ESPN covered it. But yeah, going back to the Senators, like, I mean, something has to like. Is there something internal with them? Like, I mean, a defenseman leading the team in points. I mean, don't get me wrong, Thomas Chabot's a great player, but you'd think to be competitive, especially in the Scotia North Division, you have to have someone who can score more points than a defenseman.
All right. Well, how about this thought? For the past couple of years, everybody's been saying, "Oh, they have so many draft picks. They have so many draft picks. They're going to be nasty because they have all these young prospects." How about like when it comes to the trade deadline or free agency, they sign guys that are actually NHL veterans and know what it's like to play professional hockey? Because going from whether it's major juniors in Canada or college to the NHL is a huge step. So you can't just expect a bunch of 18, 19, 21-year-olds to be able to step up. Even though they stood out in their age group and wherever they played, you can't just expect them to be nasty in the NHL. It's going to take, like, even when you look back, like, on, like, all of the greats, look at their first 2 or 3 seasons. They didn't do the greatest. It took 3 or 4 seasons for them to come to, like, their full prime. Like,
Yeah.
the biggest example is Gretzky. Like, it took him 4 seasons to get to the top. Like,
Yeah,
doesn't
absolutely.
happen overnight. So, who, like, is it the best idea to say, all right, we're just going to load this team up on a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds and say, all right, we're going to win a cup this year? No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I do agree for sure. And I mean, going back to the goaltenders, Matt Murray is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He doesn't have a team in front of him. He has a 3.84 goals against average. Their next goalie, their backup goalie, Marcus Hogberg, get this, 10 games played. He's got a record of 2-5 and a 4.34 GAA.
What?
0.859 save percentage. Like 4.34 goals against average in 10 games.
The crazy thing is how do you have that goals against and still above a 0.8 like save percentage? Like,
Yeah.
shots. That's a lot of shots.
Yeah, he's faced 220 shots and given up 31 goals. So
the Senators are just getting peppered.
yeah, for sure. The best goalie right now, statistics wise, even though he's only played 4 games, is Joey Decord. He's 0-2, 2.71 goals against average, and a .913 save percentage. Respectable numbers.
Yeah.
But he's 0-2.
It's only 4 games, though, right?
It's only 4 games. Yeah, he's let in 8 goals on 92 shots. And I mean, now we're going to talk more not only about the Senators but about the North Division now. Toronto's still in first place, 19-7-2, but they've kind of hit a little bit of a funk. Like after they completely blew out Edmonton in those 3 games, they lost 3 in a row, and they just beat Winnipeg last night in overtime. Or no, maybe not last night, but 2 nights ago. They beat Winnipeg 4-3 in overtime. Austin Matthews had a beautiful overtime winner. If you haven't seen that already,
it was beautiful.
It was good. Winnipeg.
But they still got a 6-point lead though, and yeah, they have games in hand, but you can't deny they're off to the best start the Leafs have ever been off since they won the Cup, I bet.
The best start, and get this, Winnipeg is only 6 points behind Toronto right now with 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
So Winnipeg wins 2 games, and they're 2 points back of Toronto.
I wouldn't have expected that from Winnipeg this year.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, the good thing about this is Winnipeg is in on a series right now against Toronto.
How many games? 3.
They got 2 more.
They have 2 games. Oh, geez.
Two more against Toronto. So, I mean, that series, I mean, if Winnipeg can pull it off and win both those games, Winnipeg's in a good position to take the North Division lead.
Yeah. Well, we still do have like a month until the trade deadline. So
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And Edmonton Oilers, 3rd place, 17-11. They still have 0 overtime losses. They also have 34 points. And after losing those 3 games against Toronto, they're now on a 3-game winning streak. 2 of those are against the Ottawa Senators. And 1 is against, I believe, Calgary. Yes. And then we have Montreal in 4th place, 12-7-7. Montreal's they had that hot start, and now they're kind of just like an average team.
Yeah, they just kind of faded out.
Granted, Montreal they still have 2 games in hand of the Edmonton Oilers. If they can win both those games, they'd be a point ahead of Edmonton.
They also fired their coach already mid-season. So
yeah, Claude Julien, yeah.
That is a big adjustment. All right, yeah, we're going to fire the head coach. No big deal.
That was a questionable move. Like 12-7-7 is not a bad record to fire your coach at.
Well, yeah, they fired him like previously.
A while ago, yeah.
But it wasn't a bad record at all. They lost like 2 games in a row, and then they're like, all right, you're done.
Yeah, for sure. Did they name a replacement for
Montreal? I want to say like the assistant coach stepped
in. Yeah, Dominic Ducharme. That's who it was. Yeah, for sure. And then speaking of fired coaches, Calgary Flames in 5th place fired their head coach, Jeff Ward. Daryl Sutter immediately was hired after that firing. Like, they basically announced, Jeff Ward, you're gone. Daryl Sutter, you're in.
That's absolutely wild. I can't believe he's back in Calgary.
He's back in Calgary for a 2nd stint. Calgary is a 500 team right now.
Did you see their first practice?
I did, yeah.
Daryl Sutter's back in Calgary. Bag skate, first practice, and guys are just skating goal line to goal line.
Yeah. I mean, and then Daryl Sutter plays his first game behind the bench. They win 2-1.
Yeah.
Against Montreal. So, I mean, I'm all for a good bag skate every now and then.
I'm all for seeing Edmonton and Calgary play each other in the playoffs.
Me too. And I mean, it's not looking good right now for Calgary. I mean, they have 27 games played. They're 1 point back of Edmonton and Toronto, and at least 7 points back of Edmonton. And Montreal still has 1 game in hand. If Montreal wins, they're 6 points ahead of Calgary. So Calgary's got a lot of winning to do if they want to step into the playoffs. Daryl Sutter, if anyone, is the right man to do it. They're also a -8 goal differential. And 12-12-3. They're a 500 team. 500 team in the North Division is not going to make the playoffs.
No,
not a chance. So Calgary's got to go on a winning streak here.
Because there's only 7 teams in that division too. So
yeah. And then the Vancouver Canucks and Ottawa Senators. I think it's pretty safe to say, barring a miracle, both those teams will not make playoffs. Vancouver has a -15 goal differential, and Ottawa with a -38 goal differential.
That's just not fun.
It's not fun. Yeah. Ottawa's
embarrassing.
Yeah, and like Ottawa they're almost 500 at home. They're 5-6-1 at home. Their road record is 4-13.
So you can't even have fun on the road. Like, all right, we're going out with the boys. We're on the road on a 3-game road trip. Nope, you just get buried every game.
Absolutely, yeah. And then the worst home record in the North Division right now is Ottawa at 5-6-1. The next worst, believe it or not, is the Edmonton Oilers, 9-8 at home, and
Oof.
8-3 on the road. So Edmonton has the best road record in the division, and the second worst home record.
That's interesting.
Which is interesting for sure.
You're almost praying for no home ice advantage.
Yeah, you got that right for sure. But yeah, that is how the North Division is shaping up here, and like Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Montreal are starting to run away with it. I think it's safe to say, Vancouver's played 30 games; they got 26 left. Barring a miracle, I do think Vancouver will not make the playoffs. Ottawa, I think for sure is gone. They got 29 games played and 19 points, and they're just too far gone at this point. Calgary is probably the only team that I could see maybe making a push for it. As much as I hate the Flames, I'd love to see them make the playoffs because of the possibility of the Battle of Alberta. But I also want to see them miss playoffs because fuck Calgary. Going to the East Division now, Tim, where your Boston Bruins have fallen. They were in first place last time we did the show, and now they are in fourth.
All right, it's been a rough couple of weeks, but it was a good night last night.
Yeah, it has. It was a good night last night for sure.
We've been 4-4-2 in the last 10. That's not anything to be proud of.
Yeah, 4-4-2 in their last 10.
No fucking offense after the first line. No offense after the first line whatsoever.
Prior to last night where they beat the Rangers 4-0, they scored one goal for in the past 4 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they lost.
One or less. Sorry, they gave up. What I was thinking of is they gave up one goal.
Yeah. They gave up one goal in the last 5 games, and they lost. And they went 2-1.
Yeah. There was a couple of 1-0 games that they lost. There was a couple of 2-1 overtime shootout games that they lost. But yeah.
The games that we shouldn't be losing to. Like, we should not be losing to the Devils whatsoever. But for some reason this year, we cannot beat them. We've beaten them like in a shootout once. And besides that, we've lost them by 1 goal each time.
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky you're on a series with the Rangers now, who the Rangers are riding a 3-game losing streak. Boston has won a game. That's their 1-game streak. Pittsburgh has won 4 straight.
Yeah,
Islanders have won.
Pittsburgh's won 4 straight, and we have to play Pittsburgh after Buffalo. I mean, after
the Rangers. Yeah, Pittsburgh's won 4 straight. They're 11-2 at home, 5-7-1 on the road, and Washington's on a 3-game winning streak. How about the New York Islanders showing up in that East Division? 17-6-4, 38 points, and they have yet to lose in regulation at home.
I know.
12-0-2 at home. They have the best home record in the NHL right now.
They're such a strong defensive team. Like, strong defensive team, well-coached team. You're not going to score many goals on them. And as they've proved, you're not going to beat them at home. And I would not be surprised if they win the division right now. Because I expected them to be either in, like, I really expected them to be, like, in second place in the division this year. But if they keep playing this way, they got off to a sluggish start, but now, like, they've beaten the Bruins handily every single time.
Yeah, and I mean, Boston, plain and simply, Boston needs to get offense from more than just their top line. Yeah. Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasta are absolutely carrying the team. You could argue maybe David Krejci's in there too.
Well, not really, because Krejci got his first goal last night of the season.
Oh well, I don't know what I'm talking about then.
He got his first goal of the season last night, and DeBrusque got his second goal of the season last night.
Yeah, see, and then you got Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasta just carrying the entire team.
Like I said, like earlier in the week, they had scored at that point 66 goals for. 32 of them were from the first line.
Yeah.
So besides those three guys, the rest of the team scored 34 goals. Like that's not going to win games at all.
Especially in the playoffs. Once you get in the playoffs, that's where you have to. When you're in the playoffs and you're playing against those depth teams, you have to find a way to have depth yourself. And Boston, if they can't get any outside scoring from other than their first line, they're not going to go far in the playoffs.
No, absolutely not. Because you have to think like coming out of the Central Division is most likely going to be Tampa Bay because Kucherov is supposed to be back for the playoffs. Yeah. So say you do make it out into the East and into the semifinals and you have to face Tampa Bay, they're going to be scoring 4 or 5 goals a game easily. If you can't even register 3 goals a game, you're not going to beat them at all. So it's done.
And I mean, and not only that, but to play Tampa in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're going to have to play probably one of the Islanders, Pittsburgh, Washington.
Maybe
you know what I mean?
Philly.
Maybe even Philly. Yeah, maybe even Philly. And then, I mean, you look at the Islanders who have beaten the Bruins handily every game.
Yeah.
The Islanders are a good defensive team who finds a way to shut down the Bruins' top line. If you shut down the Bruins' top line, you're going to beat them. This season anyways.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And like it won't be like you beat them 5-0, 6-0. It'll be like, oh, it was a 2-0 game. It was a 1-0 game. They just didn't score at all.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tuukka Rask has been standing on his head.
He's injured right now, I believe.
Is he? Wow, I didn't hear about that.
He's missing a couple games right now for a back injury.
So you got to ride Halak then.
Yeah, they have to ride Halak, and they pulled up a goalie from Providence.
Wow. If Halak gets injured, you guys are even more screwed.
Well, that's the whole thing is Rask and Halak are not young. Like, when you're 34, 35, I bet when you fuck your back up, it's not just going to heal overnight.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And then you have at the two bottom teams in the East Division, New Jersey, who the Bruins can't beat, and the Buffalo Sabres, again, bottom of the division, 6-15-4, 16 points in 25 games. I mean, when a powerhouse East Division where the 4th place team, Boston Bruins, have twice as many points as you, 32, in one less game, the Sabres are out. There's no way.
Yeah, absolutely. They're done. It's over.
Like, yeah, they've lost 5 games in a row.
And you're like, oh, at the beginning of the season, like, oh, maybe they can sneak that 4th seed in if, Eichel and Hall gel well together and Skinner gets some points produced and you have Dowling on the point. No. Still, last place in the division. You suck.
Last place in the division, minus 27 goal diff. It's a Taylor Hall curse, man.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's something about. Yeah, something about him. Like he could go to the New York Islanders or the Colorado Avalanche, and they could be a bottom place team. Yeah. I just don't know what it is. Nothing against Taylor Hall. He's a great player, but it's just I feel so bad for him. Like he's just looking for that team. He's been to the playoffs once in his career. He was drafted in 2010. Yeah. First overall. Been to the playoffs once in his career with the New Jersey Devils a few seasons ago and lost out first round.
Yeah, to Tampa, right?
Yeah.
Oh my. Do you know if he won anything before coming to the NHL like playing?
He won, I believe he won the Memorial Cup with the Windsor Spitfires.
So it's just once he got to the NHL, it was no matter what team you go to, they're gonna suck.
Yeah, like I mean, a guy that was drafted 11 years ago, and he has like 5 playoff games under his belt.
That has to be horrible.
It has to be. Like I can't imagine.
I mean, you have long off seasons, so like you're still getting paid big money, but still, like what the fuck?
Yeah, for sure. And Taylor Hall's a free agent because Buffalo signed him for only 1 year, so he's a free agent again after this year.
Yeah.
So I mean,
He's
you
gonna
look at that, like he's gonna want out of Buffalo. I mean, he's not gonna want to stay in Buffalo, especially if the divisions go back to their normal divisions. Then you got Toronto, Boston, Tampa all in the same division. Then you're fucked either way.
Yeah, he has to want out of Buffalo, and I feel like if he goes out of Buffalo, that's gonna be Eichel's like last straw. Like, all right, Hall came in, he played 1 season, he didn't even last more than 1 season. I'm out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the East Division. New York Islanders riding a 5-game winning streak there, so they're on a roll. Another team riding a 6-game winning streak. Carolina Hurricanes in the Central Division.
Carolina's on a 7-game.
7-game. Okay, 7-game. They're on a 7-game win streak. They're 10-1-1 at home, 9-5 on the road, and they play the Detroit Red Wings next, who are dead last in the Central Division. So poised to make it 8 straight. Hurricanes are looking very, very good this year too. 19-6-1.
Oh yeah, and their home record 10-1-1. That's a very good home record. They're 7-3-0 in their last 10, and they have a solid goal differential. I mean, they can score goals, and they're not allowing many goals. They're just a solid team. They're a well-coached, solid team.
Is Brindamore still the coach in Carolina?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's a good coach for sure.
Yeah.
1 game back of the Carolina Hurricanes is the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are also a point back. So the race there for the first place team in the Central Division is already heating up between Carolina, Tampa, and Florida. Florida and Carolina have both played 26 games. Florida's 1 point back of Carolina, and then Tampa Bay's 1 point back of both of them, and 1 point back of Carolina. So those 3 teams are both looking very, very good. Tampa's 18-5-2. Florida is surprising everyone, 17-5-4.
But you look at those you look at the top 4 teams in that division, it's a clear top 4. Like,
yeah. And then you got Chicago in 4th. Yeah.
Like 33, there's a 5-point gap. But then after Chicago, it goes, 33 to 26 points?
Yeah. And I mean, Columbus and Chicago have played the same amount of games. And then you got Nashville 23, Dallas 21, Detroit 20.
Dallas is really surprising me. I really thought they were going to be in that top 4, but you can even say they're games and they have games in hand to catch up, but they're still not winning many games at all.
They're less than 500. They're 8-9-5.
Yeah, so I don't see them being in that top 4 because you're 4 or 5 games in hand, but I don't think they can win many of those at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that Carolina, Tampa, and Florida are complete powerhouses this year. And that's the top 3 teams in the league. But Dallas has to be winning those Detroit, Nashville, Columbus games.
Yeah.
They have to be winning those ones. And, I mean, for them sitting 7th in the Central Division right now with, the season half gone is just mind-blowing. Especially a team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals last season.
They've played 6 less games than Detroit, but they're only 1 point ahead of Detroit in the standings.
Yeah. And Detroit's 8-16-4. They have twice as many losses as they do wins.
I expected more from Detroit, but, first year of the rebuild under Yzerman, so they'll bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, I expected Detroit to have a little bit better showing. I didn't expect them to be a playoff team this year by any means. But I thought for sure, especially with Steve Yzerman, how busy he was in the offseason and, the signings he brought in, I was expecting Detroit to be, even maybe 1 or 2 games under 500 at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like I said, they just won their last game against Tampa 6-4. That was a huge win. Detroit taking out a powerhouse like Tampa.
Yeah.
And they won that game. Prior to that, they were on a 6-game losing streak. So that was a huge boost. Now, do you think Detroit can ride that momentum and take out 7-game winning streak Carolina Hurricanes?
No.
Carolina's playing too good of hockey right now.
Carolina is a team like the Islanders right now, where they're extremely well coached and they play really well positioned hockey. Where you're not like, if you beat them over sloppy play, that's a rarity. You're like, they're like, you're gonna beat them because they can't score. You're not gonna beat them because you were able to put like 6 goals on them.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Carolina plays an extremely well positioned defensive game, and that's what makes them extremely hard to play against.
I could almost actually see Carolina like making a run for the East Final this year. With how they're playing right now, winning 7 straight games. I believe they beat Tampa 2 of those games.
They went to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2019 against Boston, and they have 2 more years of experience under their belt come playoffs. So that's out of the question. It's just a matter of, you're going to have to go through Tampa Bay. Like, if you're going to be the one team representing the Central Division, you are going to have to beat Tampa Bay.
And not only that, but if Carolina goes ahead and wins the division, it's almost certainly going to be Tampa, Florida, 2nd and 3rd. And then probably Chicago 4th. So if you're Carolina, you'll have Chicago in the first round, which you should be able to win that. But then you have to take on Tampa or Florida next round.
Yep.
And the way Florida's playing, like, don't take them lightly either.
No, because they're also a well-coached team. They have Quenneville behind the bench.
Quenneville, yeah.
Huberdeau, and they have a duo on offense that are playing extremely well. Huberdeau and someone, I believe Barkov, are playing extremely well. They're racking up points right now. So, like, Tampa Bay, Florida, that would be a hell of a series. But Carolina's best bet is, if you do finish first and you play Chicago in the first round, do not let it go to 6 or 7 games. Beat them in 4 or 5 games so you don't have to play many games,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there for sure. I want to kind of propose something to you here. Let's imagine a Western Conference Final, Winnipeg versus Minnesota, and Eastern Conference Final, New York Islanders versus Florida Panthers.
Why those teams? I want to know the reason.
Because both of the Florida Panthers have been not a very good team as of late.
Yeah.
New York Islanders are just, they haven't won anything since the 80s, and they're just starting to become a good team. And then Minnesota Wild haven't made the Eastern Conference Final or Western Conference Final, I don't think, ever in their franchise. And then Winnipeg is just the newest Canadian team, haven't won anything since the 90s when they relocated. It would just be something. It'd be like the evolution of hockey,
Yeah.
Like you like these bottom feeder teams that were bottom feeders for so many years being the top 4 teams in the league. I just think it would be.
Are you asking for my prediction or what?
I'm just asking, what would, if that was a thing, how cool would that be? Seeing
that
these
would
teams.
Be pretty cool, because Winnipeg and Minnesota are 2 big Western teams. They have guys on those teams that are just big in size, and then the Islanders and Florida. Florida hasn't done shit since 1996 when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals and got swept.
And not only that, but if you have those 4 teams, hypothetically, it's probably not going to happen. But let's say you do. Florida has never won a cup in franchise history. Neither has Minnesota. Neither has Winnipeg.
No.
The only team that would have is the New York Islanders. So, I mean, it would just be cool to me to possibly see, what we witnessed in 2018 or 2019 when the Blues won the cup. A franchise that wins their first cup. It would just be kind of cool to me to see that for sure. Especially now you're on a streak where you had the Blues in 2019 winning their first, Tampa Bay last year winning their second.
Washington won their first in 2018.
Washington won their first in 2018.
But I get it's cool to see a team win their first cup, but doesn't it get a little old if every single season it's a team winning their first cup?
Yeah, it does for sure.
But
And
like,
it kind of, and I mean, you love seeing those dynasties. Like, as much as I hate Pittsburgh, they had a dynasty. Chicago had a
yeah,
dynasty in the early 2000s.
yeah.
Like, you love seeing those kind of teams.
It's
LA winning
it's like what it's
2012.
what's the healthy balance,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jay says, time for an old powerhouse to reclaim the cup. I mean, not a bad point. I mean, if Boston could win the cup this year,
If Boston wins the fucking cup, I'm I'm going to the parade. No one's holding me back.
um, but yeah, so I mean, it's just going to be interesting to kind of see how this plays out because as it looks like right now, like all four of those teams I mentioned could very well make the playoffs, and we all know in playoffs anything happens, right?
Yeah.
So it's just something that I kind of was just thinking about. But we're going to go to the West Division and kind of analyze that. Vegas is in first place. Colorado Avalanche are in fourth. St. Louis and Minnesota second and third. I mean, I had those four teams making the playoffs in this division, but not in that order.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Colorado's kind of like been subpar to me this season because they have a good roster. I expected them to be consistently one or two with Vegas, but they're just not.
Yeah.
Vegas is out of control right now. Like,
yeah, they're good.
They're first in the division, and they've played like at least 2 or 3 games less than like the majority of the teams in their division. And then look at their goalie, Fleury is just standing on his head right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 4 shutouts. His like goals against average is like a 1.73.
Yeah.
Like when all you have to do is score 2 goals to win a game. All right, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Vegas is on a 2-game losing streak too. As of right now, they lost both to Minnesota, which is surprising. They lost 2-0 the first game to Minnesota, and then I believe 4-3. Yeah, 4-3 on Wednesday. That 4-3 game that they lost, all 3 goals were scored by a rookie player playing in his first NHL game. Dylan Coghlan.
Wow.
Plays his first NHL game, gets a hat trick. Bang.
That's crazy. That's
He's averaging 3 goals a game right now.
Imagine like that post game party.
Oh, 100% for sure. And I believe his third goal. Yeah, his third goal was assisted by Mark Stone and Shea Theodore on the power play. So they put a guy who had already scored 2 goals in his first NHL game. They put him on a power play, and he gets his hat trick goal. I mean, that's kind of a classy move if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
And as it stands right now, Vegas is playing the St. Louis Blues, and they're up 2-0. The first period just ended.
The thing with the Blues is that they just got Tarasenko back. Like they have been without him for at least a month or 2.
Yeah,
like, if not more. And now they're back in the top 2 in the division. I would never count them out after what.
And I mean, especially with Binnington just getting a brand new contract, getting $6 million a year, I can see him, using that to kind of kickstart the team and like really pushing for a win streak here.
Yeah.
Binnington's not a bad goalie. He's good.
No, he's good, and he finally got paid, and it took him a while to get to that point of people to respect him as that number 1 NHL goalie.
Yeah.
Well, you finally got that big contract, so play like it.
For 6 more years. Sure. Absolutely. But yeah, other than that, like there was a while there where LA was top 3 in the division. LA's now 5th. And they are 11-8-6. So I mean, even LA and Arizona, like maybe not Arizona, but LA's got a lot better record than I anticipated them having too.
Yeah, I expected LA and Anaheim to be the bottom 2 teams, and yeah, Anaheim's in 7th. So, but LA is just so old at this point.
I mean, LA's all old, but you also got to look at it this way. Colorado and Minnesota are the two teams ahead of LA. Both of them have a game in hand of LA. If both Minnesota and Colorado lose their next game, LA's only 2 and 3
Yeah,
points back of each team.
I know. It's not like they're out of it, but
Yeah.
like I can't believe like what was the problem then? For 2 or 3 years they were just complete garbage, and then all of a sudden they're gonna come in and be all right. Yeah, we might steal that fourth spot.
I mean, it's not like LA has a bad coach. I believe Todd McClellan's still their coach, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's not like Todd McClellan's a bad coach.
I
He was good with San Jose, and he was decent with Edmonton. Just didn't really go anywhere with either team. But he's not like he's a bad coach. And then like Arizona has Rick Tosche as a coach, and they're 12-10-4. They're kind of exactly where I expected them to be. But I mean, like Anaheim and San Jose, like
bottom.
bottom. Yeah.
Complete rebuild, and it
Yeah.
sucks because it's not like all right, we won the cup, we have to rebuild in a couple years. San Jose got to the cup and like they never won the cup. They got to the Western Conference Finals, they lost. Like they just never able to completely do it, and now they have to go completely
Rebuild. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I love seeing the Ducks in that rebuild situation because the Ducks are like in a normal season, they're a Pacific Division rival of the Oilers. And I'm still bitter about 2017 playoffs with Ryan Kessler interfering on Cam Talbot's pad. And that dirty ass team that they had that year where Getzlaff and Perry and Kessler were all making cheap shots. Like I'm still bitter about that. So I love seeing Anaheim where they are.
I'm sorry, but that 2017 playoffs was such a good fucking playoffs.
It was, yeah.
Like
There's a lot of good games that year.
Somehow every single round, every single game went to like overtime, double overtime. There was a ton of game sixes, a ton of game sevens. Like,
yeah,
cool.
a hockey fan's dream playoffs was that year for sure. And I mean, it was good for me. Like, it just kind of left me heartbroken because Oilers they lost in Game 7 of the second round.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were one game away from making that Western Conference final against Nashville. And I firmly believe that if the Oilers had beaten the Ducks, they would have beat Nashville and made it to the Stanley Cup final.
All right. I was a big bandwagon fan for Nashville that year. Once they swept Chicago, I was like, holy shit, here we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was really hoping they could have beat Pittsburgh.
Every single like home game in Nashville, I was just like, wow, like this is the best like fan base like at this point right now.
My dad has always said he would love to go to a home game at Bridgestone Arena.
Like holy
because
shit.
I mean you would never think about Tennessee being a hockey state.
No.
But those Nashville Predators fans are wild.
Yeah.
Like they are, and then of course they had that chant in those playoffs, like where they were like mocking the goalies.
Yeah.
You suck.
Yeah, you suck. Stop the puck.
Yeah. Like I mean, they're just wild, and like another like St. Louis would be an awesome environment to be in too. Like they're just both hockey towns, and like you would never think of Nashville, Tennessee being a hockey town.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
But like surprisingly, like if you think of Florida, you wouldn't think there'd be much hockey in Florida, but surprisingly, in the past 10 years, there's been a decent amount of growth in hockey in Florida.
I mean, not the Panthers organization themselves, but Tampa has been a powerhouse for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tampa fans are they're really, really good for sure. I mean, in Florida too. And then like LA, those 2 seasons that LA won the Stanley Cup, fans in LA were wild.
Well, I firmly believe that Gretzky is the reason that hockey expanded to California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I was watching something one time, and when Gretzky went to the Kings, that was the first time that any LA sports team, whether it be MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, sold out all of their season tickets.
Mm-hmm.
was the Kings. The Kings sold all of their season tickets out for the first time, and that was any sports team in LA ever did that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There was actually news that broke today. At the start of the season, we all remember this when Henrik Lundqvist signed a 1-year deal with Washington, and then was having heart issues and said he was going to be out for the season. He was having open heart surgery. News broke today that the Washington Capitals are not ruling out Henrik Lundqvist returning at the end of this year. So they are saying that there is a chance he'll come back. He's recovering from open heart surgery better than expected.
That would be fucking great to see Lundqvist back in action.
Yeah, for sure.
That would make everything a lot more interesting. Even if, say, you throw him in every other game, because he's still a good goalie. It's just, what's his workload right now, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on January 5th is when he had the surgery. He had aortic valve, aortic root, and ascending aortic replacement procedures. Get this, that was on January 5th. On February 23rd, Henrik Lundqvist posted a video of himself on the ice in full goalie gear taking shots from the Capitals goalie coach. On February 23rd. Like, the guy is just a monster.
Hey.
I mean, that's hockey players for you, man.
This East Division is so close right now, and one other thing you have to keep in mind is Pittsburgh was struggling a bit in the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So when they fired Rutherford, the GM, and they brought in Brian Burke and Hextall, since they brought in them on February 9th, they've been 11-4.
Yeah.
So don't expect Pittsburgh to go anywhere anytime soon either.
I mean that's not surprising because Brian Burke is a great hockey mind.
Yeah.
Awesome hockey mind. And then you had Ron Hextall, who's a Philly legend, going to Pittsburgh. I mean, he's a good hockey mind as well. So that's not surprising to see the Penguins 11-4 since getting those two guys.
It's just crazy because there's in each division, I feel like there's teams that could make the playoffs that are not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and either way, you're going to have good teams that miss the playoffs. Like, I do think, one of Philly, Boston, Islanders, Capitals, and Penguins is going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
and all 5 of them are good teams.
Yeah, and so it's just crazy. Like this playoffs is going to be really good, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also agree with that too. We're gonna just look at the league leaders right now. Connor McDavid leading in points with 48. Leon Draisaitl second with 42. Patrick Kane with 40 in third place. Patrick Kane's been having himself a year.
How the fuck is he doing this? He's 32 years old and he's up with 24-year-olds.
Yeah, he's having himself a year, and not only that, but his Chicago teammate Alex DeBrincat is 10th in league scoring with 29 points.
Chicago's been a shock to me this season. I did not expect them to be in the top 4, and they're doing it without Taze. Like, if somehow Taze comes back, who knows what could happen with this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's just it, right? And like another thing that really, really surprises me is Los Angeles Kings captain Anze Kopitar, 32 years old. He's got 31 points, 9th in league scoring. And each day it's looking more and more likely that Austin Matthews will win the Rocket Richard Trophy for most goals. He is the first NHL player over 20 goals this season. He's got 21. The next highest is Connor McDavid with 16.
And if he wins the Rocket Richard Trophy, that'll be the first time a Leafs player has ever won an individual award, right?
Ever, yeah.
Ever.
Which is crazy to think. Like, you look at their history, and not one Leaf has won an award. It's just, it's crazy. And then you look at, Austin Matthews is also in a good position if he keeps this up to win the Hart, because He's got 21 goals. He's 5th in the league scoring with 35 points. He has the most game-winning goals with 7. So, I mean, he's in a good position to win the Hart, too.
He's got 7 game-winning goals.
7 game-winning goals. The next is Leon Draisaitl with 5.
Damn. Honestly, this might sound a little retarded, but I feel like Draisaitl's kind of having a better year than McDavid right now.
Draisaitl has been, like, I mean, he had 5 points in that 7-1 win against Ottawa. Earlier this season, he had 6 assists. So, I mean, Draisaitl has, like, he has those streaks where he scores, like, no points and then gets, like, 4, 5, 6 in one game.
Got it. So he's cold.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that. Another guy that's really surprised me this year is Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah, Montreal.
Yeah. He's got 15 goals. He's 3rd in goal scoring right now in the league.
He's been a huge help to Montreal, but who knows what's going to happen with them? As we said, they've gone a little stale.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get out of here and leave you guys for next week, I want to bring up this. Marc-Andre Fleury is leading all goaltenders in 3 out of 4 major categories right now. He's 4th in wins with 12, but he's 1st in shutouts with 4, 1st in goals against average with 1.73, and 1st in save percentage with .938. Andrei Vasilevsky is 1st in wins with 16, and then 2nd in shutouts, 2nd in GAA, and 2nd in save percentage. The next one, Semyon Varlamov, is 3rd in wins, 3rd in shutouts, 4th in goals against average, and 3rd in save percentage. Do you think Fleury, Vasilevsky, and Varlamov are the 3 finalists for a Vezina Trophy?
Yeah, it's just 1, 2, 3 right there.
Yeah, like like those 3 goalies are cleaning up.
It's like there's not even a debate. It's 1, 2, 3 done. Like Fleury, absolutely. If he keeps up these numbers, there's no doubt Vezina right there.
For sure, absolutely. But Vasilevsky makes a good case for himself too. I mean, 1.79 GAA, .936 save percentage, 3 shutouts, 16 wins. He's got 3 more wins than any other goalie in the league.
It's just, I believe Fleury, like being on Vegas, they've played like 3 or 4 fewer games than Tampa.
Yeah.
So, like Vasilevsky is going to lead him in wins because he's played more games. But the fact that Fleury has played 17 games, he's won 12 games, and he's got 4 shutouts. Every 3 games that he wins with Vegas is a shutout.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Which is absolutely ridiculous.
It is for sure. And I mean, I do have to say, like, Mike Smith, 38-year-old Mike Smith. I mean, I might be a biased Oilers fan, but he is having himself a year as of right now too.
Absolutely.
Like, he is definitely, like, at this point, I'm like ride or die Mike Smith over Koskinen.
He's had his moments in his career where he's been like inconsistent, but right now
he is amazing.
0.927, 2.18, and 2 shutouts. That's not bad for Edmonton compared to what they've had as of late.
For sure. 2.18 goals against average for a 38-year-old goaltender.
Yeah.
Is good right there for sure. Anyways, I think that's about it, Tim, unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, I'm good.
All right, I'm gonna go watch the Edmonton Oilers versus Ottawa Senators starting right now.
How many times are you guys gonna play the Ottawa Senators? I feel like every single fucking game you guys play is against Ottawa.
This will be our 7th game against Ottawa, and we have 2 more against them.
You have 2. You play Ottawa 9 times.
Well, I mean, there's only 7 teams in the division, 56 games. Yeah. So I mean, we play every team 9 times except we play, I believe, Calgary and Toronto 10 times, I think.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So there's that for sure. And then Ottawa is also 0-6 against Edmonton If they lose tonight, they'll be 0-7 against Edmonton. Only team in the North Division that Ottawa Senators have not beaten.
Well, yeah, they're definitely gonna lose tonight. So
for sure, yeah, absolutely. We got 4 other games on the schedule right now. Vegas is leading 2-0 over St. Louis at the end of the first. Second period just started for Arizona and Minnesota at 0-0. And then starting right now, we have Ottawa versus Edmonton and LA versus Colorado. And then in 1 hour's time, we have San Jose taking on Anaheim. That's the schedule for tonight's game. Other than that, we will see you guys probably next week, Thursday.
See you guys next week.